Bob, as NBAA 2012 is about hitting the midpoint or mid-stride, as the case may be for the moment, I guess the first question is, how are you surviving?
You know, we're doing really well. The show, I feel like the show would actually have been close to a record for us if the Northeast hadn't closed. I think by the time the TFR was over, we might have lost 4 or 5 airplanes to other airports. Not really too many. A lot of folks had just planned around it, and we were fortunate that it was going to be over at least on arrival day as opposed to the first real day of the show. Our east transient parking came very close to topping off yesterday about 2 o'clock, which is always high tide, about 2 o'clock on Tuesday. If we'd had the Northeast involved, we'd have been closing the crosswind runway early yesterday morning, and I believe we might have seen a record. As it is, you know, maybe we lost the cream on top of the pie, but I think all in all, it's been a good show so far.
Had the original TFR been imposed, how much would that have impacted you?
You know, it's really hard to tell because it's up to the customer to decide whether he's going to go somewhere else and drive the last 50 miles or he's going to wait. I felt like since they had changed their plan fairly quickly from spending the night in Pennsylvania to coming down here because of the storm, that when they had about 50 hours notice that, oh my goodness, you're really going to screw us up, they might have been able to find another place to spend the night, but I guess they didn't.
And as I understand it, you had a lot of high-powered and talented help keeping you up to date on the political scene.
We had a lot of help from some good friends in both parties, and lots of friends in high places at some of the larger corporations that are here as vendors as well as customers. We had a lot of folks talking to them about maybe finding another place to sleep. But it turned out, when it was all over, I don't think it had a huge impact since he left so early that day.
Without being too specific or too nosy, how big a piece of business is this for you?
All things being equal, it's about a month's extra business in 5 or 6 days. In this case, we gave our ramp over to NBAA on the 15th of October, and we won't get it really back until about the 5th or 6th. So it's been a long show. It impacts our customers more because it takes longer now to put these big chalets up that have become necessary, I guess, for a static display. And so I really want to thank all of our customers who allow us to move them all over the place instead of being in their normal hangar. The Lord knows where they're going to be, and they have to call earlier and give us more time to yank them out of the back of somebody else's hangar. So they're a big part of making this thing work too.
What kind of week is this for your staff? I would imagine that this has got to be pretty intense overall. How do you prep them for it? Is it just cheerful insanity, or is it just one long slog?
It's pretty much cheerful insanity. Any member of my staff will tell the new folks the same thing. You've never been any more tired in your life than you are Friday afternoon when everything's gone and the last APU shuts down. But you've had a lot of fun. For the most part, I think everybody's having fun today. We have one guy who pulled a tendon in his foot when he was home the other night. And he's the most heartbroken guy here because he can't come out and be a part of what he's been waiting for. And I mean, I feel sorry for Kenny.
How about the interface between your organization and NBAA? I would imagine that's a hand-in-glove situation.
It is a hand-in-glove. We get great cooperation. I like to think both ways, but, you know, the Kathleen Bluen, who runs the whole show, is always just right there. Joe Hart's doing the static display this year. Ed Bolin came by yesterday, and Lord knows he's had enough on his plate, but he does every year. He always comes by, even if it's for 2 minutes, to thank us. And it's a great group of people up there. They do great things for business aviation inside Washington and out.
If anybody could take the temperature right now in the business aviation community, it has to be the guy in the trenches, or at least the guy directing the trenches, which would be you. What kind of feedback are you getting? What's the temperature, if you will, of the community?
It feels upbeat to me. I think there's some excitement and anticipation about the election next week. There's a feeling that people are just fed up with waiting anyway and are going to start to do something with some of the money that everybody tells us they're sitting on. And we've seen an uptick in business, not to normal levels, but well before this show, we were seeing better business than the same month last year. Like I said, not acceptable levels, but better than awful. Just ugly.
Well, as always, we've enjoyed watching your people work. It's been fun to see the cheerful chaos that is an NBAA convention be so organized out on the ramp. And as always, you folks have been a class act, and we sure appreciate working with you.
Thanks, Jim. It's always a pleasure working with you. You're still my homepage.
Aero-TV is brought to you by
Avidyne is the brand of choice for pilots who want innovative, easy-to-use avionics. And the new IFD 540 GPS Navcom sets a new standard for simplicity in communication and LPV navigation. As a slide-in replacement for existing 530 series navigators, and with a highly intuitive touchscreen control, the IFD 540 makes it much easier to access the information you want when you want it, reducing head-down time and making flying more enjoyable. Finally, you have a choice, and the choice is easy: Avidyne.